I suppose my query is more, or I'm really interested in the role of a truth commission in terms of economic corruption or economic crime. And I love that language, because I wouldn't have thought of using economic crime, and yet everything that you said at the beginning of your presentation, I thought, oh God, this is Ireland, this woman is describing, not Liberia. Do you know what I mean, in terms of corruption and in terms of economic crime. We haven't gone down the route here of having a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, so I'd really like to know, in terms of its role and in terms of its effectiveness as something that can actually challenge economic crime and make people feel that justice is happening as a result of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. I'd really like to hear what you have to say about both its role and its role in the effectiveness of challenging economic crime.
Just, I suppose, a question to both panellists and in particular to Massa as well, around historical redress, because I think this is something that we struggle a lot with in the global justice movement. I suppose, first of all, on Truth and Reconciliation Commissions themselves, we've seen very contested evaluations of the South African case, and now Kenya is looking into trying to bring theirs into fruition as well. And I wonder whether, Massa, you've comments around lessons for Liberia from those experiences. And then I suppose it's just another comment from the experience of the global debt cancellation movement, which has been trying to fight for debt cancellation of what we would view as many unjust debts that are continuing to be repaid by countries like Liberia and others. And it's been a very, very, very long struggle to get some debt cancellation for Liberia. I think it was about $1 billion that was cancelled last April, and it was particularly hard to achieve that because it was from commercial lenders. And I suppose there is this real reticence by the international community to take action on historical wrongs. And I wonder if you've any comment around that in terms of how the international community is behaving towards Liberia through, you know, Liberia's relationship with the financial institutions and its key donors. I'd be very interested to hear your perspective on that.
What is happening with Liberia right now in terms of the debt waiver is that I think we are on track. One good thing about this government is that the president seems to be the darling of the international community. She's well liked by you guys. But the country is plagued by, besides the external debt, the country is plagued by internal debt of more than $5 million of salaries, arrears, and other things that other previous governments didn't address. As we speak, this week, police officers were rioting in front of the Ministry of Finance for salary arrears only. Imagine police officers. So that's how bad it is. But we're making progress. And then you also mentioned, your question was also about the workings of truth commissions and the lessons from other truth commissions. What we know from experience from working with our own process for the past 2 years is that no two truth commissions are exactly the same. There are uniqueness. The reason people mention the South African Truth Commission is like it was the first truth commission, and South Africa has a history of apartheid that was well known. It's a popular country, it's also a rich country. And so everyone followed the South African Truth Commission. But like you mentioned, there are issues, even after the Commission has done its work years and years, there are issues still surrounding reparation, how the reparation package was carved out. There are also issues around, around accountability, justice and accountability. The South African TRC had a mandate that I think asked for general amnesty for perpetrators based upon full disclosure. Now the Liberian TRC is a little different. You see, what happened in South Africa is different from what happened in Liberia. In South Africa, they were fighting a repressive an apartheid regime that segregated amongst human beings based upon the color of their skin. But in Liberia, you had a situation where brothers were killing brothers, sons were raping mothers. That was the situation. So it was a little different. Almost the entire country was engulfed in the conflict in Liberia. So when you have a situation like that of a civil war amongst people of the same kind versus fighting apartheid is a little different. So that experience is not the same. So because of the nature of our conflict and the level and extent of the human rights violation, the framers of the TRC Act spoke very, very keenly about addressing the issue of impunity, accountability, and justice. While it is true that they have made some provision there for the granting of amnesty based upon also full disclosure, but we don't have anything in our act that says general amnesty. Right now, as we speak, some former warlords and then perpetrators who now find themselves in the corridor of powers are, of course, threatening commissioners already now that we are approaching the end of our work, that if we recommend them for prosecution, they will make it very hard for us and our families because they won't go down alone. But anyway, that's a side issue. But so in our act, we have this thing of addressing accountability, justice for victims, reparation for victims, but then also the recommendation of prosecution for those who bear the greatest responsibility for what has happened. And under that category, we will have warlords of the various warring factions, the top command post, and then maybe some of the financiers who actually really, really supported and sustained the war. We have decided in our process to grant general amnesty to all child soldiers